Hello boyos, Rich Boy J here back with another video, and this is going to be the LEGO Star Wars MOC Showcase episode 15. This is a series I've created to highlight some of the best MOCs that I've come across on the internet. If you find any of the MOCs in this video impressive, all I ask that you go to the links I've included in the description and support the builders by giving them a like, comment, or even a follow. Alright, the first MOC we're going to take a look at today is a Mimban MOC by a builder on Flickr named TimLiddy. And first thing you have to notice about this MOC is that giant, wonderful, I'm not sure if it's supposed to be a statue of the Emperor or if it's like a giant hologram of the Emperor, but either way, it looks pretty freaking cool. Very seldom in LEGO do you see statuesque builds be able to be accomplished like this, especially in an unconventional color like light aqua. But this thing is incredible. It is instantly recognizable what it is, so clearly the builder did a good job on that front. And I mean, it's just a cool thing to add to a build. The idea of it, and I'm still not sure exactly what it's supposed to be. It's probably a statue, but I love the idea of there potentially being just a giant Emperor hologram in the middle of the battlefield, kind of directing orders and just generally terrorizing people on the opposition. But either way, that build just looks so incredible, and the builder just did a wonderful job on that. There's also some Arabish written on the MOC up front. Once again, I don't know how to read Arabish. I'm going to leave that to you guys. I'm just going to hope once more that I have not shown bad words in Arabish on my channel. It probably isn't, but one of these days I might actually get tricked like that because I don't know how to spell Arabish. But the landscape I thought was also pretty interesting. He used a bunch of those 2x2 plates. Looks like he also has some 1x1 round plates in there as well for the ground. Mimban has an interesting looking like gray muddy texture. I've always liked gray as the color for the mud on Mimban. Some people like to go with brown or dark brown. From what I remember in the film, dark gray seems a little bit better for that. It's honestly hard to tell either way. Solo is a dark film, and I don't mean that like metaphorically. I mean it is quite literally a dark film. It's hard to see what's going on in the film, and this Mimban sequence was no exception to that. But I like what he did with the texture of the ground. It definitely looks like it should, in my opinion. The interesting thing about this is it's not actually the battle on Mimban that we see in the film, because we got our boy Vader making his way through the battlefield as well. One of the really interesting things about this MOC is the laser effects. He used, looks like some red flex tubing, red lightsaber handle, and then a red unicorn tip on the top of it to give it kind of a pointed end. And I like that. That's a cool way to kind of get across like some lasers or maybe even missiles, just depending on how you want to interpret it. But either way, I actually quite like that a lot. And I mean, it's not often LEGO gives us really a good way to represent lasers kind of flying through midair, so have to take some creative liberties, specifically with the clip that's being used to connect from that clear bar to the actual like laser build. Those don't come in clear, so the fact that the background of this MOC is dark gray actually kind of gave him the freedom to be able to implement that piece and have an actual clip connect to the laser pieces. So it actually worked out pretty well in his favor. One last thing I did want to point out is if you look closely at the explosions, I honestly can't tell exactly what pieces those are. They kind of look like dark gray and black flames almost. They're clearly supposed to represent like the mud kind of flying up in the air, but it looks really good. I like that technique. It's a good solution outside of just like a traditional brick built one. One thing I can appreciate about just this MOC in general is just the unique parts usage. Things that you don't typically see in MOCs are being implemented in this MOC, and you can always appreciate a builder for thinking outside of the box in that regard. I did also want to show some love to this trench section over to the far right. I think that using those like dark gray, or maybe that's actually light gray wooden pieces with like the wood pattern on it actually looks really good for what that's supposed to be over there in those trenches. I wish I had a better look at those trenches actually. It looks like he used some of those door pieces as well for like the grates that we see all over Mimban, which works as well. And I think the minifig placement is also really great. Just by looking at the trench section, it really does a good job at showing you exactly like what these troops are going through. They're kind of like huddled together, all helter-skelter like, and just the expression on their faces just tell you alone that these guys are in a battle. And subtle things like that in a MOC, I think, actually go a long way to trying to get the viewer to understand whatever you're trying to convey with your MOC. So I like that. I like that a lot. But that's going to finish up what I have to say on this MOC. All in all, this thing's incredible, and I can't wait to see it at Brickworld. The next MOC we're going to take a look at is by Flickr builder Michael, and he describes it as an Imperial bastion on the planet Valrar. I did a little bit of research. Apparently Valrar actually appeared first in a video game called like Star Wars Resistance or something along those lines. That's really besides the point. One of the biggest reasons I decided to put this MOC in the MOC showcase is I just like the way it looks. It's a cool idea. It's not something you traditionally see built out of Lego Star Wars. It's not a MOC that you typically see built and just in the general design. So I figured why not go ahead and include this thing. There's also quite a few custom builds in this vehicle wise that I thought were worth highlighting as well. So just taking a look at it, you can see that the Empire is basically kind of built this like base on the cliff of like a grassy forest type planet, and I like the way this looks a lot. The foliage that kind of goes along the walls on the bottom of that platform that those guys are standing on, I think looks really cool. Foliage is probably the easiest way to get in one of these videos. I'm a sucker for foliage. If it's done well, it looks good. There's a variety of pieces. My eyes are instantly drawn towards it. I think that's just one of those things about Lego that just always lends itself to a good looking MOC. I think that's why the Scarif wave caught on so easily. But anyways, yeah, I like just the aesthetic of the MOC. Like, it's very natural towards the bottom. Then of course you have the very utilitarian Imperial type of architecture sitting up top. One thing, like I said, was worth noting are the custom builds. So if you look over to the left, there's actually a custom ATDP, which is actually pretty good. It looks nice, looks mostly snot. I was never the hugest fan of the vehicle in Rebels, but I think I've kind of warmed up to it, and this MOC actually helps me like it even more. So wonderful job on that. If you look towards the bottom, there are actually some really nice custom speeder builds as well. I like these because they're different. Like, they're not using the typical motorcycle base that Lego always uses. They're also much better in scale. Like, the ones that Lego typically puts out are far too long for what they should be, but this guy clearly cares about detail, especially enough to go ahead and make some custom speeders at the bottom. So I actually like those quite a bit. If we move on to the next picture, we get a good look at the right side of the MOC, and this actually really stuck out to me. So it looks like they have some sort of like drainage or sewage system kind of poking out of the side of the cliff. So you can see, if you look closely, there's actually some like clear 1x1 tiles or 1x2 tiles that are kind of meant to simulate the water, the stream of whatever fluid might be flowing out of those tunnels. And that actually looks so freaking cool to me. I saw that and I was like, wow, like that's actually a really good idea to add some detail into a MOC. So I really wanted to highlight that here in this video. Over to the right side, we have some rebels who are trying to infiltrate the base. I think this would actually be a cool plot point to see carried out in some sort of animation or live action film. The idea of like a group of rebels kind of infiltrating an Imperial base by starting out through the sewers and then making their way into the base that way kind of intrigues me. So I don't know, that'd be kind of cool to see. But yeah, there's also some of those custom like rebel carts over to the right side, which is kind of interesting. The thought of them using those things in battle, or it's kind of a funny thought, but I mean it's a recognizable rebel type of small transport thing, so I can understand why he might elect to use that here in this MOC. Move on to the next picture. We get a good look at the left side of the MOC, which is kind of the same deal as the other side, minus the sewage system. Just a lot of that foliage built up on the bottom of the MOC, and once again, like foliage and Lego is literally like eye candy. So, like I said, that's an easy way to find yourself in one of these MOC showcase videos. One thing that's also worth noting is just the greebling that's done along the side of the platform up top. It's nothing too complicated. It's honestly, I feel like it's simple in a good way. It's really easy to get out of control with something like that. So to show some restraint there, I think is indicative of a good and disciplined builder. The next picture is actually pretty cool. So he actually parked a Lambda-class shuttle on the landing platform, which I actually like quite a bit. It's always cool to have landing platforms in Star Wars with ships parked on them. I don't know, that's just a good, I feel like that's just generally a good idea for a MOC. So looks like we have some officers making their way off of the shuttle, and of course a group of stormtroopers to meet them. I like the cargo that's used in this MOC. Specifically, if you look over to the right side, there's those like wheel pieces, and then there's a trans orange inverted dish with the light gray dish on top of it. Good miscellaneous background piece of machinery / cargo. It's always cool to get some ideas for that. And that blue cargo container looks really nice as well. Looks like he found a sticker from some set with the Imperial logo on it, slapped it on the side of there, and it looks pretty, and it looks good to go to me. So there's some really nice, just small builds in this MOC that I certainly appreciate. Moving on to the final picture, I like how this MOC is kind of telling a story. So of course, rebels get captured, because why not? Got even Admiral Akbar up front. I'm sure he warned them about this, but they didn't listen to him. No one ever listens to Akbar. But really, that's all I got for this MOC, guys. That was just a very cool idea. I like MOCs like these where you tell a story, not through words, but just through what the heck is happening in the MOC. So, by having the rebels kind of first situated over towards the right side, it was very clear to see that this is an Imperial base and the rebels plan on infiltrating it, most likely through the sewage system. And I don't know, I just really like it when you can tell a story like that with your MOC. I feel if people can look at your MOC and they can understand what you're trying to convey, then you've done a good job. Because that's what MOCs are, right? Like, there's no words. You typically shouldn't need an explanation. If a person can just look at your MOC and understand, at least partially or the grand scheme what you're trying to convey, I think you have done your job as a builder. Next MOC we're going to take a look at is a Geonosis MOC by builder Arkham Elo. The first thing I noticed about this MOC is just the general landscape. I feel that he captured the essence of Geonosis actually quite well, whether it be just how those spires are built up with the rock formations in various locations. I think that looks exactly as it should. That door design kind of towards the middle of the MOC and at the top of it looks really good as well. And you can see the same kind of door over to the right side of the MOC. So just little things like that I feel can instantly tell the viewer exactly like what location you've built, if it's not obvious already just based on the color of this MOC. But those details are important. Those landscape details go a long way in making your MOC look good. So I give them a lot of credit for that. It's hard to not mention the carcass that is sitting at the bottom of the MOC. There's a skeleton of some large creature that was there. I have no idea what creature it might have been, but RIP to them. It looks like the general idea, we got some like clones that are fighting off some droids. Got some commando droids over to the left side. Looks like a Jedi. Is that Anakin Skywalker? Is that Master Skywalker himself? He's not a master. Looks like he's over there chopping down some droids as well, and we got some Geonosians populating the MOC as well. Overall, minifig placement in this MOC I feel is wonderful. It's always good to have a nice balance between guys that are fighting and guys that have been wiped out, dead, laying all over the MOC. I feel like that just goes a long way. This isn't a great quality picture, but one of the things I noticed in that bottom right corner that's kind of a cool technique is it looks like he used some of those like flat pieces. You might recognize these specifically from like the front of speeder bikes. Lego will usually connect them on there to kind of cover up the guns to be kind of like armor for, I guess, the weapons towards the front of them. And he's actually used those as ground details, which I can't recall ever seeing before. I mean, maybe or not, he's the first person who's done it. I don't know, probably not, but it looks good. I like that technique quite a bit, actually, so wonderful job there. I also want to take notice to the fact that the colors, I feel, flow really well in this mock. I think dark orange is the ideal color for Geonosis. It's obviously not the easiest color to get. I feel like I mention this all the time. If I had an unlimited amount of dark orange pieces at my disposal, I would have done a Geonosis mock a very long time ago. But to kind of integrate that into the brown, I feel actually works really well. Like typically when people will do a Geonosis mock and it'll be just plain brown, it looks off to me. It looks too muddy, doesn't look like what it should look like. But you can see that just throwing in some blotches of dark orange can really just help sell the effect of Geonosis, and the brown really isn't even nearly as noticeable. It honestly kind of fits right in with the mock, and I like that. That's a good thing in my opinion. So good choice of color in the mock overall. All in all, I give any builder credit when they attempt a Geonosis mock. When it comes to Lego, this is probably the hardest location to build purely because of the colors and the parts availability. So when builders can do an effective Geonosis mock, they get extra points in my book. The final mock we're going to take a look at this week is a wonderful Dropship and ATTE combination by a builder named James Asbury. And man, oh man, is this thing so freaking cool. I feel like if you look across the board at all Lego Star Wars builders, no matter what era you come from, no matter, how old you are, everyone loves them, the Republic gunship, and everyone loves them, the Republic dropship. And this builder, I feel, really did do justice to both of those vehicles. And let's go ahead and talk about it. So the first thing I noticed about the builds in general is just the snot techniques used on them. There are virtually no studs exposed on either of these mocks, and I think that's a great thing. I think that's just indicative of a good builder. Builds don't have to be that way. You don't have to run away from studs if you don't necessarily have to. But I like nice, smooth looking mocks, so I'm actually going to give him quite a bit of credit for that. One of the cool things about this mock, I feel, is just the big wings on the gunship. Like, it's not a convenient shape to be building in. So the fact that those things can really even hold themselves up, I think is kind of impressive. I also like just the tubes and wires that are kind of going across the dropship as well. I think those look really nice. It looks like he's actually incorporated the like Wampa face on the front of it, which I think is kind of cool by usage of some stickers, I imagine. I like that. I like that. It looks pretty sweet, actually. I feel like I have similar praises for the ATTE below the dropship. I like seeing ATTE mocks. The Lego builds almost always are just cluttered with studs on the outside on the armor. So the striking difference when you look at a mock that has employed some sort of snot technique for the outside armor on an ATTE, I feel like always catches my eye. It just makes it look so polished and refined, so I can appreciate that. If we move on to the second photo, we get a better look at the ATTE. Before I actually dive into this, I just want to say one of the cool things about this mock is, any dropship walker combination is that it is effectively really two mocks in one. You can spend hours and hours and days and weeks trying to design a dropship. The same is the case with an ATTE, so to have to design both of them, have both of them look good, and also have both of them be able to connect to each other as a dropship walker combo, That is an incredible feat, and I'll give any builder credit for doing that. So in regards to this ATTE build, like I said, I like that the main armor plating on the outside is done snot. Gives you the ability to incorporate some nice details, like just some patterns. For example, if you look on that main armor plate that's kind of in the center of the screen, you have some dark gray lines that can literally just go straight down the armor, which is nice because you wouldn't be able to get a line that thin if you decided to use plates. So that is actually a really good thing. And then also, I think that the way that the armor plates kind of flow together is actually really nice. The ATTE is really just an oddly shaped vehicle in terms of the shape of the armor and some of the angles in it. So being able to do that, do it to where it looks good, and also have it be snot, I think is a really good thing. If we move on to the next photo, we get a look at the front side of the interior. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a picture of the backside interior. I am assuming that there's probably some there, especially considering he did it at the front, where there would probably be less space. But this is actually pretty cool. One of my gripes about the LEGO ATTEs, or specifically the most recent ones, like the Captain Rex one, and even the one before that from episode 2, is the lack of interior space, specifically towards the front. So when builders take liberties to make sure that there is seating space all throughout the vehicle, I feel is important. Interior is just always one of the most important things for me when it comes to building, especially with vehicles. Like I like having all-encompassing vehicles where, you know, the outside looks good, but there's also an inside. It just, I don't know, it helps kind of further my imagination of this being like a real functional thing in my little LEGO universe. So I can appreciate whenever builders go the extra step to make sure that they can incorporate an interior. If we look at the final photo, we get a good picture of the gunship ATTE combo on the other side. Unfortunately, I mean, I can't really tell if it's possible for these things to sit upright together. I mean, I would assume it would. It looks like there's a pretty involved connection between the dropship and the ATTE. So I mean, I would hope that you'd be able to kind of sit these things together and display them like this. But I think what this MOC really shows me is just, I mean, how cool and innovative of an idea this is. I always tell people, I think the strongest thing about the prequels is just the ship design, and I mean, this is indicative of it. Like, I feel like ever since the first moment I saw this combo on screen, I fell in love with it, and it seems to be the general consensus all across the board in the LEGO Star Wars community. So clearly they did something very right with this design, and this builder did something very right in recreating it in LEGO. So I mean, I don't think the instructions for this are available, but I would love to have a detailed dropship and ATTE combo. It's just one of the coolest things in all of Star Wars, in my opinion. So wonderful job on this MOC, and I'm honest, this just takes me back to the good old days when I was a young boy and, you know, kind of finding out about Star Wars. The gunship was always my favorite vehicle, and the dropship and walker combo was just one that really resonated with me as well. And that's going to finish up the video today, guys. I hope you enjoyed checking out these wonderful MOCs as much as I did showing them to you. And one thing I ask for you guys to do is, if you liked any of these MOCs in particular, or if you liked all of them, go to the links in the description and support those builders. Those guys deserve it. They did a wonderful job on this MOC, and it's the least you can do is go to their actual source and show them some love. So make sure you go ahead and do that. If you like what I do, make sure you go ahead and support the video by smashing the like button, and then support the channel by smashing that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys again very soon.